Welcome to actioncorp TV. This is episode 21, and we're here down in our new set, and we're going to be doing a whole bunch of packages for you tonight. Hopefully you'll find something that you like. We're going to be talking about a really great emulator called Scumm VM. We've got a couple of really cool trailers, a brand new one just released today, all sorts of great stuff. But we're going to start off the show today with some news news segments. Here's Seth with the news.
All right, top story for episode 21. The Xbox has just dropped from $179 to $149. Now, GameSpot.com has already reviewed the fact that the Xbox has doubled its sales in 2 weeks for, I guess, the February to March. They actually doubled their sales just in that month. So that is a huge, huge deal for Xbox as they try to catch up to PS2 on sales. Also, the GDC was held this month. The GDC is basically to the E3 as the Screen Actors Guild is to the Academy Awards. It's kind of the industry's own little show. The biggest thing at the show was the PSP. They actually demoed software. It wasn't playable, but they showed movies of a game called Death Jr. The game was playing in 16:9. It runs a higher polygon count than the PS2. They were also explaining the Wi-Fi capabilities of the system. So those are the two big items that we have going on in actioncorp. Now we're on to some reviews.
Well, like I said in the beginning of the show, we've got a really cool emulator I want to talk about with you here. It's called Scumm VM. It's basically a really powerful emulator for playing old LucasArts game. I've made a package that explains all about it and where you can get it. Check it out.
Do you pine for the old days of classic PC point-and-click gaming?
Look, Hoagie, it's a hamster.
Well, if you've ever tried to install one of these great classics on a modern computer, you likely won't get very far. Most of these games were written back in the days of DOS, and they required a mishmash of cryptic memory managers, CD-ROM drivers, and lots of config sys editing. And to put it bluntly, these games just won't play on modern computers. Until now. A group of talented and resourceful programmers have come to the rescue with Scumm VM. What is Scumm VM? Well, first, let me explain what Scumm stands for. Back in 1986, LucasArts created their first point-and-click adventure called Maniac Mansion. The programmers created a really useful utility for creating the game, which they dubbed Scumm. It stood for Script Creation Utility for Maniac Mansion. The system was so well developed that they were able to continue to use it and adapt it for later games, such as Zack McCracken and the Alien Mindbenders, Sam and Max Hit the Road, Day of the Tentacle, Full Throttle, and my personal all-time favorite, The Curse of Monkey Island. The VM in Scumm VM stands for Virtual Machine, because that's basically what this software does. It doesn't necessarily emulate the games. What it does is it takes the Scumm data that's stored on the old CD-ROMs and makes them playable on whatever platform you want to play it on. What that means is, if you have those old CD-ROMs or floppy disks for these classic games, all you have to do is stick them in your new PC, grab a couple files off the disks, download Scumm VM, and you're playing your favorite classic games perfectly on a brand new machine, with sound, music, voice, everything. And believe me, it doesn't matter what kind of computer you have, they have Scumm VM available for it. Whether it's a Windows machine, a Mac machine, Linux, heck, they even have Scumm VM for Pocket PCs and Palm OS. Now, if you don't still have these games laying around from the late 80s, you're going to have to do a little searching to find them. LucasArts does include some of the old classic games on their website available for purchase, but only the later ones. The early games like Maniac Mansion and Zack McCracken can only really be had if you go to eBay. But believe me, it's worth it. It's worth it to find these games. They were hilarious, fun, addictive, and they deserve to be appreciated by today's younger gamers. And besides, they're cheap. You can find these discs for around $5 or $10. And Scumm VM itself, well, it's open source and free. In fact, it has a pretty active development community, and new updates are coming out all the time that fix little graphical bugs here and there. You can keep up to date on the latest releases, find out compatibility information, and just find out what's going on in the world of Scumm VM at their website, scummvm.org.
I was lucky. I played Day of the Tentacle and Full Throttle and Maniac Mansion and all those games back when they used to come out, back on the Commodore 64 and the Amiga and the PC, early PC games. I remember buying Day of the Tentacle, and the box was the first talking game you could buy. I think it was the first talking game you could buy.
It was either that or Sam & Max.
Yeah, Sam & Max might have been.
They were both. It had talkie on the first full talkie.
I mean, that was one of the first. Besides Myst, that was one of the first games that actually used like audio on a CD. Anyway, they were a pain to install back then, though. I mean, it was a pain in the butt. You had those Config drivers,
boot discs. You'd have to make a LucasArts boot disc. Next thing we're going to look at is a segment we saw. I guess I don't remember who saw it first. It's been posted onto actioncorp.net's forums. It's a really, really cool kind of conceptual video that someone has produced. Chris knows a little bit more about it than I do.
Basically, what this is it's called iSPEC. It was a short film produced by a company called KD Lab. They're a design company in New York City. And they basically, it's just really like 3 people put this together, which is what amazes me. It's pretty short, but basically their ideas was to create what it would be like to own an iPod in the distant future, and they came up with this.
How do you like it?
They obviously have some really good, like, just art people there who just do 3D rendering.
Some conceptual.
Yeah, I mean, it's just crazy.
If you guys want to see that again, or if you'd like more information on it, or you want to talk about it, go to actioncorp.net in the forums. Search for KD Lab. Search for iPod. What was it?
I think we called it iPod 3 in the forums.
iPod 3. It was very, very cool.
Found out later it's called iSPEC is the name of the short film. And it won an award, too. I think they used, I don't remember what the piece of software it is they used. It's in the credits. But they actually won an award for a showing of that software. So, pretty cool.
Okay, the next thing I'm so excited about. I've been reading about it for about 2 weeks now. They've been kind of hyping it up. The number one show right now on television is The Apprentice. And the directors over at Sony Studios thought, what better way to kind of mix into the market than instead of just playing their trailers, their complete trailers, in the theater before the movies, why not buy out an entire commercial segment, an entire 2 minutes, and play the trailer there? So they premiered the new Spider-Man 2 trailer. Now, it's not a teaser. This is 2 minutes long. Well, about a minute and a half or 2 minutes.
But not the teaser that we showed on a couple episodes ago.
No. This is this is basically kind of a story summary. This is kind of going to give you an idea of what's going to happen, at least through the first 2/3 of the movie. So here we go. This is the Spider-Man 2 trailer.
I believe there's a hero in all of us. Gives us strength, makes us noble. Even though sometimes we have to give up the thing we want the most.
Parker! Where you been? Looking for you all morning.
You're late.
Always late. You're fired.
Look at you, Peter. Your grades have been declining. You always appear exhausted.
I know I'm trying.
So where you been, pal? You don't return my calls.
I've been kind of busy.
Taking pictures of your friend. Spider-Man killed my father.
No matter what I do,
Do you love me or not?
no matter how hard I try,
I want Spider-Man dead.
it's the ones I love who will always be the ones who pay.
I can't keep thinking about you. I'm getting married.
I want a life of my own. I'm Spider-Man. No more.
You look different.
I let things get in the way before. There was something I thought I had to do. I don't have to.
I like seeing you tonight, Peter.
Now on to the main event.
Octavius is going to put Oscorp on the map in a way my father never even dreamed of.
Crazy scientist turns himself into some kind of a monster. 4 mechanical arms welded right onto his body.
You took Spider-Man's pictures. Where is he?
It's taking me off your loyalty to Spider-Man and not your best friend. Bring Spider-Man to me.
How do I find him?
Peter Parker.
Find Spider-Man, or I'll peel the flesh off her bones.
There are bigger things happening here than me and you.
Who's behind the mask?
The story continues June 30th.
How close does this story to the actual comic look? Like, does Spider-Man, give up being himself for a while, and Dr. Octavius? I mean, how close is this to what happened in the comic books?
Glad you asked. Spider-Man. There's actually, for big Spider-Man fans, the shot where he's walking down the alley and he says, "I'm Spider-Man, no more." That's a direct quote from a comic titled Spidey No More. Dr. Octopus does not seem as faithful to the comic books. It's already fusing into his back when he's showing it off. In the comics, he was just working with robotic arms. There was an explosion, and they fused into his spine.
But that's...
So there, and they took liberties. They took liberties with the first Spider-Man, with him being able to shoot biological webs out instead of a high school kid being able to develop a polyurethane thing better than...
Right. I mean, they're updating the story because, that thing was written, in the 50s?
I'm not arguing with you.
Oh, no. I think it makes sense to update it, though.
I wish they would have been more true to the origins, though. I don't think they could. They didn't have to attach it to his spine anyway. They could have been a little bit more...
Yeah, but isn't it a little more believable than having something fly into his back and then stick there? Because that's what's happened in the comic book.
Well,
right?
Then you have to accept the reality that he can use arms by already attaching them to his spine. Yeah. So you're still having to suspend your disbelief there. So whatever. I don't really care. If given the option of being closer...
The movie's going to rock anyway.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. It's not going to stop me from seeing it. I don't know anything about the comic books. That's the interesting thing here. It's like, you've got on one side of this table somebody who really knows Spider-Man inside and out, going and inspecting certain things in the movie, and you've got someone like me who knows nothing about Spider-Man and going in and seeing it.
And we're both going to see it many, many times.
I know, and we're both going to love it. So
one more interesting thing about the trailer. The teacher that Peter was talking to that was saying, you're kind of falling behind, you exhausted, that kind of... That is Doc Connors, and I believe what they're doing is they're setting up the villain for the third movie to be the Lizard. Doc Connors is the doctor that loses one of his arms, and in order to try to regrow it, since lizards have the ability to regenerate limbs, he tries to fuse his DNA with a lizard, and it messes up, and he becomes a lizard. But that actor is playing the character Doc Connor.
We like to show a lot of movie trailers on ActionCorp TV, and we try to find stuff that's a little unique and maybe something most people haven't seen. Here's one I stumbled upon that I don't think anyone even here has seen other than me, and maybe Craig's seen it, but it's called Casshern, and it's this really cool-looking Japanese movie that has it's live action, but it has a real anime feel to it. I mean, it's got some crazy whacked-out action, and it's got a lot of the elements that you'd find in a normal anime, like the love story and the government.
All right, quit describing it. Get to it.
All right, well, here it is. It's called Casshern. Check it out.
ここに一つの成果を発表させていただきたい。その名は心臓細胞。
これがよくここまで作ったな。奥様ご病気だとお聞きしましたが。
ルナはどうするんだ。
友達が戦っているのに自分だけこんなところにいるわけにはいかない。原因不明です。
心臓細胞はまだ完成せんのか。
どういうことだ。
軍部が動いているということです。
なぜ人は戦うのかな。
あなた方は何をしたのですか。
死を治むる新たな心臓人間と称し、人間を皆殺しにする。
コード206、早くしろ。
私もお前を救ってみせる。
貴様は誰だ。
俺はもう人間じゃないんだよ。
たった一つの命を捨てて生まれ変わった不死身の体、鉄の悪魔を叩いて砕くキャシャーンがやらねば誰がやる。
The next thing we're going to look at, Sean took a look at a game that has very, very high reviews. Very.
And again, we didn't like it at all. That's just us sitting here. We have strong backgrounds. The game is Ninja Gaiden. And, fans of the old NES versions, it came on the Genesis a little bit. Everybody used to like Ninja Gaiden. Everybody would jump up, swing from the signs, kick, throw some shurikens, do some ninja magic. It was fun. It was a quick action game, had a little upbeat music and stuff like that. When we heard that Team Ninja was going to make it for the Xbox, everybody was like, yes, this is going to be great. It's going to look slick. These are the guys that did, Extreme Beach Volleyball. Everybody knows how that looks. Things like that. I mean, they're known for very slick visuals. The game was highly anticipated. It got pushed back. A lot of good games get pushed back. We hoped that they would take that time to maybe make it better, polish it up a little bit, do what they do the best. Unfortunately, Seth first got a hold of the demo and played it and was not very satisfied with the demo.
I was very, very, very disappointed. I posted up on the board I was like, how did this game get good reviews? It was like a 9.4, 9.5. This game was the best action game ever on the Xbox. And it was not good. I liked Shinobi for the PS2 more. I really did. It was much more fluid. It was much more quick. And then you rented the full thing to take a look at it.
Yes, and I should have took it back right away. It was just very, very, very bland. It was just not what I expected from, as good of a team as Team Ninja. So we have some footage, have some in-game stuff, a quick review, a little snippet of it here, and see what you think of it.
The evil, dark dragon blade. A legendary sword, said to have been carved out of the bones of a black dragon.
Magical swords, ninja powers, stealth moves. This is what we've been waiting for since we first heard about Ninja Gaiden's move to the Xbox. The game starts off with the usual training routines to get you used to your ninja skills. Learning the timing of double jumping and running along the walls are top priority if you want to progress the game easily. The frequently visited menu screens will allow you to do standard things such as equipping weapons, items, and ninja magic, as well as checking your position on the map. The fighting controls in the game seem somewhat stiff, and with many enemies coming at you from different sides at once, a better targeting system might have helped flesh out the combat system a little more. The level design seemed pretty bland in the first stage, with room after room of sliding doors. Secret passages are hidden in ways that almost force you to find them accidentally. The enemies are likewise just as dull. Different colored ninja outfits are the only thing that will make them appear different from each other. The AI is fairly subpar, and the enemies love to take cheap shots at you from all sides. Overall, this definitely is not what I expected from programmers like Team Ninja. Even though Ninja Gaiden's release was delayed, the extra time does not appear to have been used to tweak the game into the gem it should have been.
The first level was pretty much all that I reviewed right there. It was very, very, very drab. Room after room of sliding doors and reflective wooden floors just doesn't really cut it anymore.
Reflective wood?
Yeah, it's highly polished.
I know, I saw it. I just think, what?
It's terrible. I guess that all Japanese dojos have highly polished floors. That's what they do every day. But it was just very, very subpar, very mediocre. There was nothing that really drew it out in my mind as being a top of the mill game. It just didn't come off very well at all. I mean, he's in the cloth ninja suit. Nothing big. Like I said, they used the same model for him as they did, it looked like, for the enemies, and the only thing that differentiated was the color.
To be fair, the reason they used the blue one, I think, was throwback to the original games, because that was the thing he wore but they could have done it well, and They didn't even do it. He had like a low cut, like a vest, and no sleeves in the game, and not in this one. Switching gears now, we're going to go from a game that highly disappointed to a game that exceeded all expectations. This is Splinter Cell, Pandora Tomorrow. This game is incredible.
Are you ready? Hey, are you ready for this? Are you hanging on the edge of your seat?
Let's start at the beginning. In August of 2000, a relatively successful software company known as Ubisoft acquired Tom Clancy's software company, Red Storm Entertainment. With that, they now have the rights to the Tom Clancy name. Since then, they've released several hits, including the Ghost Recon series, and more recently, they took their skills to create the third installment of the best-selling Rainbow Six. But arguably, the biggest hit they've had since is a fresh title, a one-man stealth-based action game known as Splinter Cell. The game was released in 2002, and its programmers were critically acclaimed for the game's use of dynamic lighting and shadows. The game has since been called the greatest single-player experience on the Xbox. Now, 2 years later, Sam Fisher is back, and better than ever. Splinter Cell Pandora Tomorrow was released earlier this month. In it, Sam must investigate an Indonesian terrorist group who's using... well, maybe I shouldn't go into that just yet. The Splinter Cell graphics engine, which was recycled in Rainbow Six 3, has been revamped for the second outing. More light sources, more polygons, better AI, you name it, Pandora Tomorrow's got it. All of Sam's standard secret agent gadgets are there, including your night vision and your thermal vision, your sticky cameras, and this time a feature that Xboxers missed in Sam's first go-around, the binoculars. Also added into this game are a few new Super Spy moves. The first is Sam's ability to hang from a pole with his legs, which frees up his arms to fire his pistol. The second is a very cool new move known as the SWAT turn, which is a way to get from one side of a door to another without being detected. Now that we've looked at the single-player side, this is the kicker. This game has my favorite Xbox Live multiplayer experience I've ever seen on the Xbox. It works as a 2-on-2 match, but it's not a death match per se. Two spies are sent into various settings across the country to, for lack of a better word, defuse certain devices. This is another thing I don't really want to get into to avoid any spoilers for your single-player experience. You'll play as one of the spies sent in to defuse the device, or a mercenary who's been hired by an unnamed source to protect the devices. Although the spies will play in an extremely similar mode to the way Sam plays, the mercs play in a first-person perspective, which completely changes the experience. While the mercs are all about firepower, the spies are all about stealth. In fact, the spies don't even have a weapon that can kill. The only way a spy can kill is by sneaking up behind a merc and snapping their neck. Which brings up another interesting point. Spies can talk with other spies, mercs can talk to the other merc, but the two can't talk to each other. Well, most of the time.
Each team does get a device that, once triggered, can tap into the other team's communique. The spies have a spy bullet, the mercs have a spy trap. Then, by holding the white button, you can hear each other's chatter. This game looks great in its custom engine, it sounds good in its Dolby Digital, it controls like a charm, and its engaging storyline is going to keep you playing single player for a long, fun ride. And if for some reason the single player would ever wear on you, I can almost guarantee you the multiplayer is not going to. And with upcoming downloadable content, including single-player campaigns and multiplayer arenas, you're going to keep coming back for more. And for $50, this game could be the best value for the Xbox I've gotten in quite a few years. This game is definitely a 10.
I've been waiting for this game forever. I loved the first one. Loved it. It's not a game for everybody. It really isn't. The stealth games are... Sometimes they take a little more patience. They're not more of a trigger happy kind of game, which it's absolutely. I love both of them. I just every once in a while I like kind of moving slow, creeping in the shadows, and for them to have a better story and a multiplayer added into this thing was just fantastic. I was so excited about it.
You know, I gotta say one thing about Ubisoft that I think makes them. You know, I always gotta take the programmer side of it.
Okay.
You know, it's one thing to play games, but the way these guys create these games, I think, is just unbelievable. And one thing I think Ubisoft does very well is the use of lights and shadows. Ever since they did stuff with Rayman and things like that, I think they really picked up how you can even hide some flaws in a game if you use very well done lighting and shadow. And Splinter Cell is an awesome example of that. Even the first Splinter Cell had just, you know, the particles in the air through the light beams coming through, things like that. It just adds the whole more to the stealth of it and everything like that. I mean, it makes you want to creep around. And I think they just do a wonderful job of that. That's why I went out and bought it, not just because of, you know, playing with my friends on live, but the game is just an incredible looking game, and it's just fun to play.
actioncorp likes Splinter Cell. 2 thumbs up. That is all for this episode of actioncorp. If you want to talk to us, please do. Find us at actioncorp.net. Join the forums. Talk to us. Tell us what you want to see, what you don't want to see. Other than that, thank you for watching. We'll be back as soon as we can with another episode.
Post those gamer tags.
Do it. We'll see you next time.
I
enjoy it. That was an excellent episode, I thought.
I thought it was very well.
We went a little long. What are we doing? That's the next segment.
Oh, that's the next one. Okay.
Wet mic. It looks like our mics are. You think our mics are on right now?
I think the show went very, very well after he picked up that bubble wrap.
You're gonna put bloopers.
It did slow it down. You never believe me. I do this every day. I time shows. That's what I get paid to do. Not in this one.